Hi, I'm Rachel from Life on Her Terms. Welcome to our video. I have a very special guest with me today, my little big sister, Leslie.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so 12 months ago, Leslie and I went to see Tony Robbins. We went to the UPW week conference.
2019 in Sydney.
This was before COVID. And it came up on Facebook that it was 12 months ago, and we were like, oh my gosh.
Can't believe it's been 12 months.
Can't believe it's been a year. And so we just wanted to share with you, first of all, this is some pumping music that they would play with us to get us in the mood.
In the mood.
Lots of dancing.
High-vibing.
Feel like Night at the Roxbury.
Yes. 8 a.m. in the morning in a stadium full of 10,000 people.
And I hadn't even had my coffee yet sometimes. I was like, oh, and they're like, you don't need coffee.
I'm like, yes,
I do. Yes, we do. But this is my Tony hat, Live Lucky. And Leslie has her Tony.
I'm still wearing my badge from
it says VIP. We were VIP.
I was VIP.
We were totally VIP.
We were on the floor.
We were on the floor, which, anyway, we could go on and on. I'm going to stop that music because that
Only
was
if you have to.
Only if you
Only if you have
Sure.
to.
We might bring it up later. Do we need to have a code word like Tony did? Every time they said the word, was it train? Remember?
Well, he would change the words every day.
So. Every day they would change the word, and you were like, what? And then when they would say it, you would be like, oh, I have to get up and move.
Yes, and you'd have to get up and you have to jump up and down.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. It was like 12 to 14 hours a day.
The first day was really hard.
I was exhausted.
I was angry. I was angry. Yeah. By 11 o'clock, I was like, where's Tony? And I'm tired and I need a nap. And we'd only been there for 4 hours. And I was like, I'm tired. And all they were doing was telling me,
I want my life to change and I'm tired.
I want my life to change right now. Where's the button? Please give me the button. Okay, hold on. Firstly, I'm going to take my Tony hat off now because I just think I've done the effect.
I'll take this off.
Okay, because we are going to get into some sharing really awesome takeaways. We have come together grabbed our notebooks from a year ago and got together and said, you know what? There's some things we can share with people because I think a lot of people wonder about these type of conferences and events. And I've been meaning to share something for a long time about what I learned and what I took away. And I was so fortunate to be able to share it with my sister. We both had very different agendas. We had very different things happening in our lives.
At the time,
At the time. And so it was so special in so many ways. But we've got 10 takeaways we want to share with you. But before we get into it, I just want to say, at the very end, there is an amazing story. Should we just give a little preview? Go ahead.
Tony touched us.
Oh, he did.
Physically.
That's wrong.
He did.
Oh,
we were touched.
We were touched by Tony. It was a very spiritual moment. We were like, what? It was. So we will tell you that story at the very end. But I trust me, there are some really cool takeaways that I think will be interesting. All right, let's get into them.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Leslie, what's number one?
Number one. What is move your body? So as we said, the whole days were like between 12 and 14 hours. There wasn't really breaks. Like they would say you can have 15 minutes, but the first day was pretty much hardcore. You're like in your seat, and Tony would actually say, get up and move your body. And so he got us to stand as much as basically like, how many hours?
Oh my God. I'd say every 10 minutes they would put on this music, and every time they did it, you had to get up and dance.
Yes.
It wasn't an option. Yes. It was like you have to get up and you have to move.
Yeah.
And it kind of annoyed me after like the second hour because I was like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. But I understood they were reconditioning your body. It is not a holiday. It is a very intense like cave atmosphere. And, you know, you feel like you're being, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but you're being forced out of comfort. You're being forced out of comfort. And I'll be honest, so much of my day, I was either running around for a kid or I'm just sitting. They say sitting is the new smoking, right?
Yes.
And I totally got that because by day 2, it came so natural. But on day 1, I really resisted physical activity. I'm just going to say I resisted the physical movement.
But that's why you would get angry because it's out of your comfort zone.
It's out of your comfort zone.
But it was good for your body. You needed to keep things flowing, keep things moving. You had to keep it fresh because otherwise you'd get distracted, you'd get tired, you'd get bored, you'd start thinking about my legs are sore, you'd start looking around the room. So it was for a few reasons, which was really good. So, and it even came back to, it was like, just move your body. If you physically move your body, your day will be better.
It's true.
Your thought process will be better. better because it just keeps moving forward.
And I think obviously everyone knows this about science, but for me, I think I'd always had this mindset of I have to exercise each day.
Yes.
And that really changed my mindset around exercise. They never even used the word exercise. No. It was just move your body. Yep. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you dance in the kitchen for 10 minutes, just move your body. And that really, it liberated me around that term exercise because I've always had such a negativity towards it, to be honest. But so that's number one. That's just number one. Move your body. Okay.
Number two, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Balanced people are not extraordinary.
Ooh, I loved this.
Loved it.
Loved it.
Why did we love it, Rachel?
We love it because we've never been balanced.
We're not balanced people. We're not raised balanced.
We were not raised balanced. Who is? Like, you know, there's people like, oh gosh, they just seem to flow with this and that and that. And it was like he gave us permission to be obsessive about what we really love.
Yes.
And it was more about, and I think particularly for women, we have this thing of we're trying to achieve balance. And if you're not balanced, you're failing, is how it felt for me. Okay. That was this kind of inner dialogue I had. And the way that he framed it, which is so true, don't focus on being balanced, focus on being centered.
Yes.
Because look, balance is great if you are one of those people, but most of life is when it comes up, you're having to deal with crap all the time that has nothing to do with you or your priorities or whatever. So his whole point was if you can just start the day and know how to center yourself, you can handle anything that comes your way. And did he say about athletes? He was like, you don't go and watch Serena Williams because she's balanced.
That's right.
She's not balanced.
Tony Robbins isn't balanced.
Tony Robbins isn't balanced. We didn't pay that money to go and see someone who's balanced. No,
not interested.
He's obsessive.
Yes.
And that is what made him masterful.
Yes. And passionate.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
I love Tony.
I love Tony. I can't wait to be his friend. I can't wait to be friends with Sage.
Sage.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just take a second?
Sage.
Behind every extraordinary man,
there's a Sage.
There's a Sage.
I love Sage.
One day when I grow up, I want to be like Sage.
I want to be like Sage. I want to be like Sage now. She's just, I love how...
You kind of look like her.
I do, don't I? Mm-hmm. I love how quietly confident she is, but she's strong.
Yes.
She's steely. Mm-hmm. You can tell. And she's just beautiful. And it would take a strong woman to do.
Oh my gosh. Only the strong.
Only the strong. Moving on.
So, the next one is deleting a word from your vocabulary which does not help you.
Serve you. Doesn't serve you. I think we all have these things of like, okay, I hate exercise, for one. That was one, I hate this. Well, is that serving you? Is that helping you achieve your fitness goal? Or what about, like you were saying, I'm late. Oh, I'm so lazy, or I'm such a procrastinator.
My big thing is procrastinator. Yeah. Oh, I just procrastinate. I'm a procrastinator. And it's kind of accepting that. And that's actually like, it's not a good thing to sort of accept about myself. That's what I feel. So instead of saying like I'm a procrastinator, instead I replace it with another word. And I just go, you're just taking your time to organize.
Exactly. And I think it's also about the story we tell ourselves to give ourselves permission to not do something. And sometimes it can be with money, it can be with relationships, it can be with, oh, I'm just a crap friend, or, oh, I always stay too long at a job, or I never get the job that I want. Like, whatever it is, it's like, really? Is that helpful to you? What is the word that you keep coming back to that is giving you permission to stay small? So that was to me a very practical tip.
And that was a good one.
That was a good one. Okay.
Next one is number 4. Business is a spiritual game.
Love it.
It's a spiritual game.
Okay, here's the thing. When we went to this, I had a 12-month-old, and going to Tony was like my baby present. My husband was like, "What do you want?"
Was that your push present?
Yeah. He's like, "What's your push present?" I didn't even know you had those things. I was like, "Okay," and he was like, "What do you want?"
Has one.
Beyonce, she did, gorge. Anyway. He asked me, what do you want? He was thinking a diamond or something like that. And I was like, no, I want to go see Tony. And then I called Leslie. I was like, I'm going to go see Tony. Are you coming? She was like, yes.
I will come.
And so we got to experience it together. What am I trying to say? I had basically put my business aside for like a year. And one of the things that I had my mindset around my business was my business was in a box. My spiritual life was in a box. Everything I kind of had in a box. When I realized that I only started a business because I felt literally called to do it. It wasn't something I just randomly decided one day I was going to do. When you realize that if you involve God and your spirituality in every decision that you make, and when you realize that you actually have something of service to offer the world, there's a flow that starts. There's a certainty that you have. And it brought me back to, it wasn't just, there are rules of business in terms of you want to succeed, just do these things. But when you realize when your spirit is in tune, that's when things start happening. That's when the shift happens. So I could go so much more into that, but I just want to say if anyone here has a business or is starting one, do not forget all the spiritual principles are relevant in business. It is more so than any time, because if you want an MBA in personal development, start a business, because it will challenge every conception you have, every mindset you have, every trauma you've had. All of your insecurities come to front in business, but I'm telling you, it's spiritual. It is the most spiritual thing you can ever do, because you are trusting God to, help you be resourceful and to, help you show up in the right way and all those things. So when you really nail that in your belief system, it helps you show up in a different way. So I might do more training on that down the road, but that was a real game changer for me.
So, and the next one is certainty. Basically, it kind of stems on. So yes. Making a decision in a state of certainty, it will be the right one.
So we talked before about how they kept making us move, and we're like, oh, stop it. I'm tired. And we had a hotel literally right there. So we were like literally rolling out of bed to get there. And then we're like, oh, so tiring. This was interesting. He talked about, when was the last time you made a really big decision? How did you feel about it? What was happening? How certain did you feel? And what got you to feeling certain? And so, as well as moving your body physically, if you can get your body into a state of certainty, not, I think this is the right program for me, I think this is the right car for me or the right job. When you know, when you get in, and he actually goes through a process of this is how to get your body into a state of certainty, which is really move your body, stay in a certain way, get some puppy music on, like get to be your most confident self, and then ask yourself, what is the decision here? You'll know. You will know, right?
Yep.
And that was it. And you will always make the right one. I think, and I can tell myself, I know when I've been unsure of something, and you've made the wrong decision. Your intuition, women intuition is so powerful. So that was a real powerful thing for me, of knowing actually there's certain steps I can do to make myself certain and know that I'm making the right decision. What about you?
Let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Unless it's 100% heck yes.
That's right.
It's a no.
And even if you're doubting yourself, why are you doubting yourself? Yeah. Like, get to the bottom of it, because it usually has nothing to do with the decision you're trying to make anyway.
All growth in your life has come from a yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't come from a no.
Keep moving forward.
So,
the next one was, life will pay you what you ask for.
I love that.
It's a good one. It's basically just like you get what you ask for.
You get what you ask for. And particularly with women and coaching women, it's amazing to me how women just don't always ask for what they really, really want. They ask for what they feel they have permission for.
Yes.
And sometimes there have been rules that I've thought that too, but I've really worked hard to let those go. But if you don't ask, you don't get. And that is a spiritual principle as well. So it's just a great reminder, like, what do you want? Have you asked God for it? Have you showed up to the universe and say, yes, this is what I want. I'm taking action on behalf of what I want and desire.
And I remember in the corporate world, women, it's proven, women get paid 20% less to men.
Yep.
Even when I really had to coax myself, I wanted a pay rise. It was the perfect timing, performance review, great time to ask for a pay rise. And I had to really tell myself, Leslie, ask for it like a man. And so I went in there and he's like, and anything else you'd like to discuss? And I said, I'd like a pay rise. So awkward. Why is it awkward? It's my money. I want more of it.
And
why
you deserve
are you so uncomfortable talking about money?
But I have another theory on this, by the way.
Okay.
And we can go into the feminine movement, all that stuff. But I actually think, like Leslie said, women don't make as much because they don't ask for it.
That's right.
I don't think, I honestly, I don't, and there's lots of reasons we can go into that. but you don't have it because you don't ask for it.
That's
Men
right.
are much more comfortable asking for it.
So comfortable.
I don't think anyone's trying to
it.
withhold anything from you, but they're also not going to willingly give it to you either.
No.
So I've negotiated nearly every role that I had when I was in the 9 to 5. I don't want to say I've never had an issue with it. You learn how to do it. You learn the right way to do it, the professional way to do it.
Yes.
But there's no reason, you know, and I actually think, and I talk about this in my upcoming book, Grit, Grace, and Hustle, that it is a shortcut to finding out how much they value you. Yeah. If you do it at the right time in the right way, you know, it is a shortcut to see how your manager really values you, because sometimes it might be a financial no, or it might be not right now, but they might be able to reward you in other ways. And I've had that too, which is just as good. Yeah. You know, it could be a project you wanted to work on. It could be a change of title. It could be managing. It could be lots of different. So there are other ways of value that aren't always financial. But if you don't ask and say, actually, I'm ready to move up and show up, and I know my worth, and I've proven myself in this way, there's no reason why you can't or shouldn't be more compensated for that.
And my boss said yes.
So
the next one, you get what you focus on.
Not what you deserve, not what you want or deserve. Wasn't that the...
You get what you focus on. What was the rest?
I think the rest of that was...
That, to me, that's what I really took away. So if there was more to that sentence, it didn't resonate with myself. But what did resonate with me was you get what you focus on. Because to me, that just sort of said it.
Oh, it's so true. Like, you can focus on the economy, you can focus on COVID, you can focus on all these things. But actually, I feel like at the moment, there are so many incredible opportunities in business and job-wise. And I think a lot of things have opened up, definitely for me during this time, that I didn't expect to. And adding to that was, you don't get what you want or deserve, you get what you focus on. And that goes back to ask what you want. Because I think sometimes people are like, oh, this isn't fair, I deserve this. Okay, maybe you do, but have you focused on getting it? Have you focused on becoming the best person in that role, or the best business service in that industry? Like, are you only focusing on what you don't have, on what you can't do, on your competitors? Because as we know that comparison is the thief of joy. So it's, what are you focusing on right now? Because that's what you're going to get more of. Where your focus goes, energy flows.
That's right. And like, have you focused on your body, your food? Have you focused on your spiritual journey? Like, have you focused on your mental state, and have you focused on like how your mind thinks and your thought process? Like, what have you really been focusing on? So you can't want, you know, a body like Victoria's Secret model if you're eating potato chips on the couch and then saying, why am I not, you know, it doesn't really work that way.
And what I loved about Tony, can I just go back to how much we just love the T-Man?
So good.
Big T. It's so different from what we're hearing nowadays in terms of no one, like, he doesn't believe in the word victim.
Nope.
It does not exist in his vocabulary.
Nope.
And there was one particular, should we go there?
I guess we already did.
I think we just did. There was one particular person who had a story that they were abused by their parents and didn't have a very loving childhood. And Tony challenged this person and said, oh, did your mother beat you, upside the head? Did they pour dishwashing liquid down your throat? Did they, knock you into the door? Did they beat you? Did they pour hot water on you? No. He goes, okay.
Well, so how did they abuse you?
How did they abuse you?
And she said, well, it was verbally.
And it was neglect. It was like neglect.
Yeah.
And this person clearly grew up in a nice environment in terms of financially. Okay.
Silver spoon. I said it. That's what it was. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely, I'm happy nothing wrong with that. Very happy, but happy for the delusion.
Well, what was interesting was he was like, well, all of that happened to me, but I'm not a victim. He said, I'm not a victim. I will not allow myself to be a victim. He's like, these things happened to me. I was abused, but I was not a victim. And so he was like, society is praising people who are calling themselves victims. And it was nice to hear. And it was empowering. It was empowering. It was. And I'm not here to dismiss anyone's real pain, but we've all had stuff happen to us. Yes, and it's our responsibility as adults, when you're a grown up, it's your time to deal with it. you get to choose how you show up. And if you show up, I mean, how many sob stories could we tell that people would be like, oh, sad face. But it's like, that's not going to help anybody. I hate sympathy. I have no interest in that.
Same.
I really just want progress. I want growth. And I want to create a life on my terms. And so, but for him, a lot of that was, he was like, we are celebrating victimhood. And that is not helpful.
No.
So that was really empowering.
Oh, you get what you focus on. So
vision boards, yeah.
So that's because I'm such a visual person. So that's where vision boards for me really come into play. And they really help me just so I can see it. Like images of the body that I want. Images of money because I want money. And like images of art because that's what inspires me. Or family, you know, things that are really, are a big priority in your life. So I love putting them on a board, on a wall, somewhere where I can see every day just to remind me that's what I need to really focus on because that's what really matters at the end of the day. So vision boards, journaling is really important because my thoughts sort of go all over the place like the day. Like I could be thinking of 10,000 things. So when I write things down, it actually brings me back to again, what I'm actually really focusing on. And then I read back through the journal to see if that's what I need to be focusing on. And then I can like reprioritize and reprime and change my thought process.
And I think a shortcut to that is just, I don't want to say just gratitude, but I mean, sometimes I love journaling, but sometimes I'm so self-obsessive with everything that's going on with me. And it can happen.
To anyone.
It's like, yes, it does happen to you quite a bit, Rachel. I need to talk to you about that.
Off camera.
Hey!
To have a session.
We need to have a session. But gratitude is a shortcut to that. So he would say gratitude will always end suffering.
Yes.
And that was really, because when he's like, you know, if you're angry, if you're this, if you're that, you're in a state of suffering. You're allowing yourself to be in a state of suffering. So that, you get what you focus on. And that is, I don't miss the simplicity of that, but the power of that, because that is wherever you're at today is because of what you've been focusing on in every part of your life. So
true.
That's powerful.
It's very powerful. All right. So number 8, anger. So what did he say about anger? When you're angry for how long was it?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. It's
6 hours of it suppresses your body's immune system for 6 hours. 5 minutes of anger suppresses your immune system for 6 hours. Some of y'all have been living with suppressed immune systems for years, and I get it. My first reaction is anger. If I feel triggered or disrespected or misunderstood, I don't get like, I get like
very fiery.
So it's like, I've had to work really hard on that. So what was his shortcut to that? That was cool. Because he's like, look, it's not don't get angry. It's do this when that happens.
He said basically bust a move. He said change the energy in the room. So, and he said, I don't care what it is. He said, if you move your body in that moment, you can actually stop that process from happening. He said, and what are you going to do when something like that happens? And it was like, you're going to laugh or you're going to be like, what's going on? He's like, you will literally change that thought process. It'll stop and something positive will continue.
You're reprogramming your body of how to respond to stress. That's right. What it is. Because look, we're human. Things trigger us all the time. Yeah. Some things are always going to trigger you. Some things always trigger me. That's never going to stop. But I get to choose how my body responds to that trigger or that stress. So for me, what do? I shake my butt.
And for me, I just jump up and down.
She jumps.
I just jump up and down.
Shake.
Up and down, up and down.
I shake. That's right. And it helps. It literally does help. You'd be surprised.
Yes.
Because it means it doesn't last very long. No. You shortcut it and you...
So like next time you're either in an argument with your partner or your family member, or if you're about to fight, just think of anything else you can do. Start dancing, jumping up and down. You can clap your hands.
Clapping's
you can start like
I do this sometimes, which is really annoying to people.
Okay, maybe not that, but just anything else, like whatever it'll do to just change that energy and what you're feeling. Yeah, just do it, and like your partner will think you're a bit crazy, but if you start laughing instead of fighting, that's awesome.
They also might think you're like cuckoo, but
well, all the great ones are.
It's true, and I also think that we'll just be grateful your immune system is healthier as a result. Like
you're gonna be so thin.
Yeah. Your body clenches, so let's unclench, shall we? Okay.
Number 9.
Leslie.
I freaking rock.
Yeah. Yay.
So basically, it's wake up, look in the mirror every morning, and say to yourself, I freaking rock. It's really awesome.
It's awesome.
Great way to start the day.
So good.
Love it.
Good. I freaking rock. And what's the next one?
Shake your tail feather.
I mean, it's this whole thing of, I used to love going out dancing. It was my favorite things to do. I haven't really done that since I've had a kid. And even when we go out, it's more like drinking and hanging out. It's not a lot of it's a lot of sitting. And I guess it just gave us permission to have a dance party all the time.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait for anything. You don't need an excuse to feel good in the moment. And so I have lots of dance parties at home, particularly with my toddler. He loves it. So, and we just do. Why not? Like, we don't need to wait for that. So it's just, I think the focus on physical movement was a real game changer for me in terms of you don't have to just go and exercise every day. Of course, that's good for you. But it really, it just brought back to the physical. Your body is meant to be moved. Like, we're meant to physically move. So that was really cool.
It is. It's really good and positive. Okay. And the last, number 10, is the Tony
FIREWALK.
Yes, the Tony experience.
The Tony experience. Okay, let's you start.
So the FIREWALK. So it was the first night, wasn't it? So the first night when you go to, these, I call it a conference, but so Unleash the Power Within. The first, they basically program you for the whole day, which is like 11 hours long. And then at the end, you're meant to go outside and actually walk on fire.
And guys, this isn't a joke. I thought, and I asked friends who'd done it before because I had a fire phobia growing up.
She did. She used to have like drills done.
I used to have fire drills at home. They used to laugh at me, but then I was like, well, you'll just burn.
And then who will be laughing then?
I was very generous. But that's how concerned I was about fire safety. Like, it was a real thing. I had a backpack. You know what? I probably had some serious anxiety the family should have acknowledged, but no, you didn't.
You turned out fine. So the FIREWALK. So and they would even show you on film like the coals being heated.
And I thought it was a joke. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
But
dramatic footage.
There was flames. Like,
I was like,
it was fire, man.
I mean, and so there was after them just talking about it. At first, I was like, shut up, and then I was like, holy crap, this is real. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I saw there were people who left who weren't going to do it. There was probably, I'd say, about 500 people who wouldn't do it, who just walked out, and I was nearly going to be one of them.
I was too. I'm not going to lie. So they're heating all these different walks because there's this outside, obviously, because there's a stadium of like between.
This is at night, like 10 p.m.
10 p.m. There's the stadium is full between like 8 to 10,000. Couldn't really remember the number. So they're preparing all of these. So we were actually going out and like it's a stampede of people. But Tony said he's like 3 things. He said, focus.
Look up. Say yes. And go.
And go.
And everything they kept saying, I was
focus.
They're like, don't forget these 3 things. I couldn't remember a thing. I couldn't remember anything. I was in shock. And this is what's so funny. Leslie and I, when we finally get out there, I'm like, what are we doing? This is stupid. Whose idea was this? This is crazy. And so we're arguing with each other. And I said, I'm getting ready to leave. She's like, me too. We can't even leave. No, you're too entrenched in it.
I literally told Rachel, this is horrible. Please forgive me, Tony. I told Rachel, I was like, Rachel, if we left, no one would know.
She said, we'll just pretend we did it. And I was like, how unmotivating is this? And then I had this guy next to me because I was like, well, we'll be near the end, so the coals won't be that bad. He goes, oh, they'll actually be worse. I was like, shut up, Glenn. Like, are you kidding me?
We just met you 10 hours ago.
We just met you. And he's like, oh, it'll even be worse. Yeah, the burns will be severe. And I was like, oh. I mean, I'm talking about my worst nightmares. And what really freaked me out was I couldn't see.
Yeah.
So
you're just surrounded by people. And everyone's chanting yes. It felt very cult-like.
It was very cult-like in that moment. I was flipping out. I actually was. And I literally got to a place of just shock. I was just staring, going, I can't believe I'm here.
So we're getting closer and closer
and closer. It's so dark.
It's dark. You can't really see. It's
all you see is flames and coals.
It's a bit dramatic, but it was nighttime. So there was orange. It was an intense orange color. So we get to where there's different walks, and I'm like, oh, Rachel, we'll go, like, just come here. And we look up, and we hear Tony's voice. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, Rachel. I said, Rachel, is that Tony? He was literally helping people walk. So right before you walk, you get to the fire where the steps, and you say, and you look up, you say, yes, and then you go.
And but there's someone helping you.
There's
You're not
someone
just
helping you. Yeah. So that you have like one of the volunteers there with you. So it was all volunteers. And me and Rachel, so we saw Tony, and I went, holy crap. And Rachel's like, we've got to get in that line. So like we literally maneuvered our way. Security was blocking everyone off because they were running out of time, and everyone wanted to be with Tony. And so me and Rachel, we kind of had to like maneuver ourselves and, you know, and just sort of get through. And then we were in the line of Tony.
It's funny because all I actually remember is when I saw that it was Tony, I just went, we have to go over there. And this is what was incredible to me. I swear to you, in that moment, he's standing there and he said, give me someone.
Yes.
Because security people, there were crazy people trying to get a hold of him. It was
like,
really, and I could understand security, but I didn't even expect him to be there.
No.
No one
I
did.
thought he'd be backstage.
Yeah, I didn't think he'd be
here
for that.
serving people.
But when I saw him, and I just went, and he said, give me someone.
He said, give me people.
And I'm like,
time. So I've got time.
He's like, give me people. So he's standing there basically vacant, empty. And that's when I grabbed Leslie, I said, we're going. And I swear to God, this was my experience. He grabs you, and he's like huge. So I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, look up. And I'm looking up, and he's like, say yes, yes. And in this moment, I thought, well, he seems pretty confident. Tony says I can do this. So if he says it, I can probably do it. And he's like, go. And he had his hand on my back and pushed me. And I was like, I'll be honest, I felt his certainty was so intense.
Yes.
And it freaking hurt. I felt all of it. I felt it. I was like, and then I was like,
then Rachel's gone, so it's my turn, and I'm like, Tony is touching me. His hand was on my back. His other hand was on my stomach,
on the diaphragm,
and he said, look up, and I looked up, and he's like, say yes, and I was like, yes, and just that intensity moment, just feeling his presence. He believed in you. He literally believes in your whole soul, and you're just like, I could do anything. And I walked across the fire, didn't even feel it. I was on cloud 9. I'm like, Tony Robbins just touched me. And I look at Rachel, and she's like, my feet are burning. And she's like, I need water. I am
dancing around like a crazy person because I'm feeling the cold.
Cat on a hot tuner.
It was really crazy. But what was so amazing was Leslie and I turned around. We were one of the last 10.
That was it.
We were the last people. Yeah. We were the last 2 people. We had trouble because we were procrastinating so much. Like, I had no idea. We were the last 2 people. Yeah. And what I thought was so incredible, I stood there and I watched. I was able to watch him for about 5 minutes where he didn't know anyone was watching him. And he just said, guys, we've still got time. Volunteers, anyone else.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, if anyone grew up in a church, there is something very spiritual about baptisms and a preacher who takes people and baptizes them. It was the same moment for me. I was watching someone who was like a spiritual teacher doing his gift.
Yeah.
And he was standing there in ultimate service, and he has built an entire empire, but I'm telling you, that man still has a heart of service. And that to me was a real humbling, life-changing moment.
And in that moment, I went, this man is legit.
He's legit. He's the real deal.
I mean, you don't do that.
No. He was the real deal.
He was like, volunteers. He's like, come on, guys, let's go, soldiers.
He was still serving, and I honestly not sure it was, and I'm not sure I would have had the confidence to cross if it wasn't Tony. I think God maybe knew that.
If it wasn't Tony, I would probably pretend I was a volunteer and help other people.
Leslie, I was like, tell them what you actually said to me. Rachel, let's go to the pub. Rachel, let's go to the pub.
Well, I'm kind of hungry.
Let's go. And it sounded good, but I was like, no.
I want some fries.
But thank God we didn't, because the next morning when you go in, we went to start. They're like, yay, FIREWALK! You're FIREWALK! We would have had to fake the whole thing. We were like, yay! But we had the most incredible Tony experience.
Yes, it was beautiful.
It was so beautiful. So anyone who's thinking, should I do UPW? Now, and I've had girlfriends who've actually do the virtual experience, and they've said it is just as powerful. They've done both. So I would say, yes, do it. Do I believe Tony is legit? Absolutely. Yes. And I look forward to seeing him again and hanging out with Sage.
Sage, BFFs.
Please. Love you, Sage.
Love you, Sage.
So that's it from us. Leslie, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. I'm looking forward to doing more of these things. Leslie is an expert on many things. She's our in-house stylist. She does events. She does personal styling, home styling. She's my little home edit person.
Yes. I organized your handbag. I cried. I was like, what are you doing to this handbag? Stop it. So I organized it.
She organizes studies, wardrobe. Anyway, she just makes life beautiful. That's just one of her gifts. So
I just like making people feel special and structured.
Special and structured. That's nice.
Well, it's nice to be organized.
Yes, it's nice when other people do it for you, though.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I love doing it.
She's so good at it. She's so powerful at it. Okay, so if you want to see more stuff like this, follow us on Facebook, Life on Her Terms. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you are a female entrepreneur who wants to create a life and business on her terms, join our Facebook group, Life on Her Terms. All right, have a great day, and until then, what should we say? Look up.
Look up.
Say yes.
Say yes, and
go.